Sometimes you are shaken up. You feel like drawing a gun and something, right? Oh yes. Sometimes I make.
I always remember the
Death wish. Teflon mind, of course. Our purpose is to develop a Teflon mind. You know what Teflon? The cooking pan, right? Frying pan. If there's no Teflon, then whatever you cook, it burns and sticks to the pan, right? But if you have a Teflon, they're not going to stick. And it's a good thing to have a Teflon mind. If you don't have a Teflon mind, you're going to suffer. There are all kinds of, obnoxious bad ones out there, bad drivers, and people who, don't keep their promise, and sometimes they, very bad. And in such a situation, if you cannot have the freedom of mind and a Teflon mind, you are simply doomed to suffer. Many people get nervous breakdown, And how many millions of American people are suffering from depression? I mentioned about 20 years ago, the census says that like 16 million Americans are suffering from depressions. Depression is a horrible disease, psychological one. It's a physical one, you can take a medicine, but the psychological one is horrible. Many, thousands that commit suicide. So we have to attain the spiritual power, freedom of mind, no matter what the external world is. We should be free. Don't behave like a small vessel on the high seas. You know what high seas? Turbulence is. If your vessel is so small, it's going to tip over, right? Behave like a huge warship, which is not easily moved by storms. How many pounds does your mind weigh? 2 pounds, or like as light as a piece of paper. Even with a little bit of wind, you'll, flutter and flying around. That's no good. If possible, your personality will be as steady as heavy, like a mountain Tai in China. Anyway, we talk about a huge mountain. We always talk about mountain Tai in China. Behave like that. On the other hand, we have a saying like, keep your mouth as heavy as the mountain Tai. Some people have their heart outside of in their mouth. They are stupid. Are you following me? Some unwise people have their heart in their mouth. So they say things, whatever comes to their mind. Wise people keep their tongue. Wise people keep their tongue in their heart. Are you following me? Wise people keep their tongue in their heart. So even though somebody says stupid things and behave bad, you keep your tongue in the heart. It's harder to take it out. And that's the way you can protect yourself. You can avoid all kinds of difficult situations and so on. This short 3-inch long tongue is both the gate of blessings and punishment. If you misuse it, the punishment is sometimes severe. So you have to be very careful. It all depends whether you are wise or not. About life, I started by saying that we are riding a train, someday we'll get off. But within the train, there are all kinds of things going on, fighting, stealing, loving, and so on. And then as if they are going to ride the train forever. In the case of a train, you get off on your own will. But life, when death comes, you have no choice. So the Buddha taught, not Buddha. Reverend Sungshin is not Buddha. Buddha is the Japanese pig. Japanese call pig Buddha. The original sound of the Buddha in Sanskrit is Buddha, not Buddha. But I learned there's a Buddha, always Buddha. Buddha nature is a Buddha nature. It's going to be hard for you to change it because it's already programmed in your brain. So whenever you pronounce Buddha, you pronounce Buddha. It will take a long time to change it. Anyway, that's not the issue. There was, at the time of the Buddha, I'm pronouncing correct, Buddha, there was a condemned prisoner, on a death row, because he committed a heinous crime, death row. And this man, thinking of the beheading, they punished by beheading, the beheading. And this death row inmate was horrified by the thought of his head is going to cut off, so on. He made up to run away, break the prison. And somehow he succeeded in breaking the prison and just started running. However, at the time of the Buddha, if the prisoner runs away, breaks the prison, then they had the custom of using a mad elephant. The mad elephant simply let him chase him and stamp on him. Stamp him to death. Stamp him to death. That was the practice. So this man who was running saw behind him an elephant was chasing at him faster than his own running. So what could he do? Fortunately, there was like a well, huge one, well. So he was going to hide into the well. Well, as soon as he looked down at the bottom, there's a poisonous dragon. Poisonous dragon. Okay, and with a big mouth open, waiting for him to jump into his mouth. So he couldn't jump. And there is what is called the arrow root. The arrow root is a root which grows underneath. And we eat it. It's a sweet root. Is very big, some of them, And he got hold of the vine, arrowroot vine berry, okay? But a few feet from the ground level, like that, hanging like that. And then there are 4 like cobras, poisonous, venomous snakes on 4 sides of the well, 4 of them, spitting out the venomous, like even some kind of fumes and so on, ready to bite him. What could he do? And he couldn't come out of the well because there's chasing a mad elephant. He could not jump into to the bottom. He couldn't. So he barely holding. And then when he saw it, there are 2 mice, rats, one white, one black, eating up the vine of the arrowroot vine he was holding, little by little, you see. And he realizes that, oh my gosh, when this arrowroot vine cuts off what will be the food of this poisonous dragon they're holding. However, that 2 rats don't eat up fast, eating little by little, okay? So it will last for a while. And then he's hungry. When he looked up upward, there was a huge tree